Alright, hold your horses, cowboy. Before you do that, let's sit down and have a little chat. As someone who solo queued for 90% of my 5-year long stint with Apex, I really do get it. It's hard. You are starting yourself at a massive disadvantage. It feels like you have teammates that are playing a completely different game while the lobby is filled with 3 stacks that are working with like Navy SEAL level cohesion, so I really do get it. I've had moments where I've looked at that uninstall button and thought to myself, is this really worth it? But then I remember how I felt when I got my first 20 bomb or when I've clutched up a 1v3. It's a bit of a love-hate relationship, but the good thing about solo queuing for the majority of my playing career means I've found some useful tools to make the journey just a little bit more manageable. As a side note, while most of these tips can be catered to ranked, they can easily be applied to pubs. For Split 2, the Skirmisher class got a massive update, and it's no secret that the majority of your games will be filled with them. While I love the Skirmisher class and have a ton of fun playing them, they really do promote a much more aggressive playstyle, which isn't a bad thing, but a lot of people just don't know how to play it correctly. It's all push with no exit plan. So for tip number 1, we're talking about legend choices. For myself, I have over 5,000 hours into this game. I've tried and tested every legend and understand how they work. But maybe you haven't, and that's totally okay. For a super aggressive meta, you sort of have 2 options. If you want to vibe out with the aggressive meta, Alter and Wraith are solid picks this season. I personally recommend playing Alter with the support perks because she turns into an aggressive support legend. Being able to yoink your teammates back and get them to full HP after res is crucial. If a Skirmisher legend isn't your cup of tea, I would next recommend playing Newcastle or Lifeline for strong support, or Crypto for scans and picking up easy assists. Plus, if you need to rat, just pick the cloaking perk and pop drones somewhere inside of ring. Side note, while I am a Watson main, I personally would not recommend her as a top pick this split for solo queue unless you're very confident. While her kit is perfect for fencing off ports and void nexuses, I feel that she takes a little bit more cohesion to make it work, and that's just not something you're going to find very easily while solo queuing. For Split 2, we have Kings Canyon, Storm Point, and E-District. Now, I have my own opinions on one of these maps, but having 2 strong maps out of 3 for competitive play isn't really that bad. Now, you can play your game however you want, but for me, I like to stay in the dropship until the last second or veer off to a non-contested location. This seems to always have a better outcome for me personally. Ideally, I like to land non-contested, but somewhere that there's a single team in the next POI over. Hot dropping for ranked as a solo queue is just not going to work 9 times out of 10. And if you do manage to take out a team, you'll have a single P20 with 20 ammo, no heals, and quickly have 5 other teams on top of you. If you have a scan character like Crypto, it's best to land with a scan beacon so that you know if a push is safe or not. Rotation is key with landing spots, and you're not always going to land perfectly. Sometimes it's not going to work out and you're going to be gatecapped or held out. Try your best to work with your team and predict where a team might be if you don't have a scan character. This is obviously easier said than done, but the best way to learn this is to see where the hotspot is, which is indicated by the blue beam coming out of the POI, and start to learn where the general hot drops will be. These are usually popular landing areas such as Energy Bank and Lotus on E-District, Cascade Falls, Barometer, and Stormcatcher for Storm Point, and Capacitor, Relic, and Market for Kings Canyon. It may feel tempting seeing all the potential KP for these landing spots, but I highly recommend landing away from them or adjacent at the very least. Remember, if your team is in the lobby, you're not making points. Play smart. Apex Legends is a mental game, and I am not going to sit here and say that I've never lost my cool or never been toxic. It's a competitive game, and unless you're the chillest human on the planet, it's going to get to you every now and then. Teammates running in and taking a 1v20 over and over again is going to break your resolve eventually. And while I would never get on the mic and call a teammate bad or anything worse, my sarcasm can come out strong after 20 games of loss. A negative 45 is a fake number for a pretty badge at the end of the day, and quite frankly, I've had nights where I've lost 800 points in what felt like an hour and made it all back within a couple of games. That is just the name of the game. And as funny as it sounds, the other thing that has massively helped is having a stress ball. Having something to squeeze and fidget with helps me displace my irritation and anger, as well as adds a physical therapy element. Trust me, if you're doing anything repetitive like using a keyboard or a controller, you want to keep your hands stretched and warmed up. And as a final note, if you do end up saying something mean to your teammates, just apologize. Trust me, most people are going to be a lot more understanding if you just accept responsibility. Most people in this game understand getting too hot over something, and owning up to it is the responsible thing to do. In a perfect world, your randoms would be a cohesive fighting machine working as a singular unit. But as most of us have come to realize, this is usually not the case. You could do everything right, but sometimes you just need to know when to dip. It's not always ideal, and I'm trying not to dip when things get sketchy, but sometimes it's going to make or break your game. Remember, as long as someone is alive, you have the potential to make points. There are many times where I will tell my teammates to just run, to forget about me, or I'll even sacrifice myself so that my teammates can get out by drawing the enemy's attention away from them. If they're able to get our other teammate up, that's amazing, but with the ability to craft banners no matter what legend you're playing, it's better to sometimes just run for the reset. And if your teammates are screaming down their mic, just mute them. Truly, if it helps you keep your cool and get the reset, just do it. Don't take the bait and don't argue if they're trying to antagonize you for getting out. I'd much rather be seen as a chicken for getting out of a 1v3 situation where my teammates did 20 damage combined, over being the first team to go down and sent back to the lobby. Communication is a key factor when it comes to Apex. I've been playing since Season 4, and the ways to communicate have drastically changed for the better. Now, this part might be a controversial take, but you need to communicate in whichever way is most comfortable for you. If you are confident on the mic, use it, because this is by far the most cohesive way to communicate. But maybe you simply can't use your microphone for whatever reason. Now, if you're a non-mic user, you can be immediately jumping into chat to blame randoms. And yes, again, I am not perfect and I have done this before, so I speak from experience. If you can't use mic, try to really familiarize yourself with the ping wheel. We have pings for needing loot, where to go, if you hurt an enemy, so many things that have changed for the better over the seasons. While in a perfect world, we'd all be confident and comfortable using mic or even just having a functioning one, this isn't a perfect world and some people just can't. If you can't use a mic, make sure to be confident with the ping wheel. And people who can use a mic, try to give some grace and understanding to those who can't use a mic. I completely understand that it's difficult, but try to have a little bit of empathy and awareness. It'll go a long way, I promise. And remember, the mute button is your friend. Use it if you need to. So that's my 5 realistic tips for solo queuing this season for Apex Legends Ranked. But again, a lot of these tips can be easily converted to pubs as well. Do you think any of these tips were helpful to you? Or if you have any other tips, I'd love to hear them in the comments. If you like this video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. See you soon!